Yo, what's good, YouTube? What's good? Stormybman, and I am back. Welcome to another episode of the Friday Night Chop Session with Stormybman for this Friday, September 18th, 2020. Salute to everybody that's out there, and we are calling this one episode number 78. The audience effect. Yeah, the audience effect is what it's called, because boxing has resumed and we're seeing fights now in venues like the Bubble and Eddie Hearn's Plantation with no real spectators, just the officials, the fighters, and their camps. So that's something that we can talk about this evening, and we'll also get to whatever the latest news of the week is and what happens to be. We could talk a little bit about what I have done this week as far as putting out material for the channel. Any of you paid any close attention to Stormybman's channel, you will find that I have taken it upon myself to drop quite a few segments of material and content, just trying to get back into the mix of things and having something to say about the sport, the personalities, and the fights thus far and those on the horizon. So yeah, that's what I try to do, man. I told you all that I was going to invest more of my efforts into this and do the best I can, and you're seeing the groundwork for that bit of labor, but it's a labor of love. I'm not complaining. I'm actually glad that we have boxing back and we have things that we can talk about regarding the sport. That's good within itself, great within itself, actually. So, what's going on? Let's see who we got out there in the chat. We got Tone Brown out there. Ramsey Sutton III is out there. He says, peace to the chat. Bruce Goes is out there. Whatever Man says, salute Stormy B Man. And chat, salute to you. Ramsey's comment says, peace to the chat. Salute to the trio. Hashtag LDBC. Hashtag bombs. Squad, hashtag till this day. Yes, sir. Yes, sir. Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens is out there. He says, salute my peoples. And Kano Loco Sports is out there, says, salute to all. And Derek McGee is out. He says, salute family, salute to you. The resident stat man, Lawrence Williams, is out there. He says, what's good? What's good with you, Lawrence? Man, we're going to have to get you on the show, man, and get you on the In the Eye of the Storm, bro. I have not forgotten about that, but I will be making my way around to getting in touch with you very soon, Lawrence Williams, because that's something that needs to happen. I hope you're still interested. And Kano Loco Sports says, smash the like button, folks. Yes, sir. Smash that like button and come in and show love and support as we begin to let it go down. You know what I'm saying? Talking about this boxing. It's exciting that at the time that the sport is returning, this channel in particular, the subs have picked up and people are showing more love and support every day. And I just want to say thanks to all the brothers and sisters out there who have been showing support consistently and those who are newly on board. And we're just trying to do good things here on the Stormy B Man channel. And special salute out there to 78 Sports TV for creating a platform where people like ourselves can come and be a part of something great, a movement, so to speak, and a direction that is new. And we've seen evidence of that new direction just within the past couple of weeks. with things happening, with various personalities making themselves available from the sport, the profession of the sport, and giving access to a lot of the content creators out here, part of the community in the LDBC, man. It's been a magnificent thing to watch as that has happened. And that's exciting, you know. And just like almost daily now, you can tune in and you can see names, you know, out there and people who have a iron in the sport. So let's just continue to show love and support for one another and keep it going, keep it growing, keep it developing, because this is monumentous. It really is. So, Derek Bailey's out there. He says, salute Stormy B, man. And Kano Local Sports says, found you through D-Style. Yeah, D-Style is a good brother, man. He and I have collaborated a few times, and we intend to collaborate more in the future. And I support him. He supports me. We have a very positive relationship through this YouTube boxing network, man. This is great. And I appreciate you stepping out and coming out to see what Stormy B Man's channel is about. Hope that you like what you see. You can go into the archives and check out my material. Been here a little bit over a year now, almost a little bit over a year. And we're growing and we're moving. So, you know, and it's just respectful boxing talk here. You know what I mean? There's other entertainment out there that you can get, you know, but Stormy B Man is about the chop session, about the three wise men of boxing, the Tuesday tussle, and every so often when we do collaborations with people who create content for other channels, we have In the Eye of the Storm. So, you know, that's plenty, more than enough to keep me busy, because, you know, I like to get my sleep, and do too much outside of that, and Stormy B Man can't get his beauty rest, and then you won't have such a handsome character to look at when he comes up here on the airways for his show. So just know I can't do much more than what's going on, because I got to get that beauty rest. Some of y'all don't know about that, the beauty rest. Y'all might have think it just applied to the ladies. But, you know, nah, these kings got to get their rest too. You know what I mean? And you come out looking good. You know, don't need no makeup. Know what I'm saying? So that's what it's all about. And hey, I'm just glad to be here, man. I've said it so many times, like being a part of a wheel, you know, on the train, it help you go down the road. You know what I mean? So that's what's up here. If you guys have any idea of what I do from time to time when I slow down as I'm talking, I'm trying to get my visuals together for you up here. Because Stormy B Man be trying to prepare everything. You know what I mean? Have it all ready to go. That's important to me. You know, you got to look good. You know what I mean? Never know when somebody want to take that close up. So, we are here for the Friday night chop session, the audience effect. As far as you guys, when you watch, you know, these boxing matches that we've had the chance to see over the past couple of months since boxing has resumed, primarily a lot of top rank cards on ESPN. I'd like to know, you know, early on in the show, what are you guys' thoughts about the fights that you've been seeing and the fact that they haven't had audience? Have you enjoyed the impact of just being able to hear the action in the ring without fake induced noise? Because, you know, they've been doing that for a few of their features cards. But I like it actually, because you're centered more on the fighters. It's kind of almost like a a tennis match, you know, but it's boxing, and you're just kind of like, it's you and them, because you're looking through your TV, you're not hearing the audience, and these judges who cheat so much. And Reggie and I have begun to write those judges' names down. So by the end of this year, we're going to have a full roster of names for you guys when you watch a boxing match, who to watch out for in case fights go to the decisions. Because, you know, there's some shaky characters out there and we have to stay on top of them. So that's something that we've been doing, is keeping track of a lot of these judges with these matches that go the distance, particularly the ones who have questionable scorecards that swing fights in a omnious direction. You don't know where the decision is going to go, but you feel one guy got it or whatever, and then when they call out the scores, it's like totally the other way, and you're like, wait a minute, what fight was they watching? And they don't have the crowds to influence them on this now. So we're on top of that. And that's the thing, you know, we want to make sure that we stay on top of that. So let's see, we're going back to the chat, and we got Tone Brown and Derek Bailey saluting everybody. Reggie is saluting back. Kano Loco Sports says, let me know when you want to collab. All love from here. Appreciate that, Kano Loco. Yeah, man, just, you know, make sure you check out some of my material and everything, so you'll know, you know, from the angle of which Stormybman covered the sport and present himself to the sport. I've had a background of working with guys in the gym here out of Chicago, both amateur and pro. So it's like I have a little bit of boxing knowledge, you know what I'm saying? So it's not like me just speaking out of the other end. So Brown on Boxing is here tonight. He says, salute Stormy and Three Wise Men was great last night. Glad you enjoyed it, brother. We really enjoyed bringing you guys that show last night. Kurt Sugar and I, we really worked hard. It was really a spontaneous show. We thought of the subject, but we kind of went into it very fresh and organically last night. And sometimes when you do things that way, it turns out the best. And last night was one of the best of the Three Wise Men that had to offer. But again, I must say, we are sorely missing our brother Scrapbook Boxing, who's recovering. But as soon as he is ripe and ready to go, he will be back to join us, you know, because we are a trio. So that, believe that. Bruce Gold says, Three Wise Men is my favorite show on the net. Shout it to the hills, Bruce Goes, because more people need to know about the show. We're trying to find more ways to advertise it and put it out there. But one of the easiest ways is for you guys to share it. You can share it on other platforms of social media or whatever, or even some of these, what do they call them, podcast apps or whatever. We're trying to work through to that. But hey, man, it's growing, it's coming. The Three Wise Men will not be stopped. Yes, sir. Whatever man is out there says, I enjoy the peace and the focus on the boxing, but what's missing is the boxers feeding off the crowd. Interesting take there. Curtis Anderson, my brother, is out there. He says, that Stormy B Man in the chat, peace and blessings. And Tone Brown says, everything except the bad judges and scorecards. Hey, man, you know, it's funny because boxing is okay until that happens, right? Those horrible judges get out there. Makes me sick to my stomach, man. When they come out and then they influence what has transpired, and you know what you witnessed. You sat there through 10, 12 rounds of fights, and you're ready to hear a decision be meted out in the proper manner, and here they go swinging things totally around the pendulum like, hey, wait a minute, what is that? What were they watching? We have to do something. We have to have a voice, just like in some other areas that we are showing and proving that our influence is significant and powerful enough to be there to kind of right the ship. But we have to practice that. We have to put that into practice, I should say, because we shouldn't, and ladies on the spot, when they misjudge these matches and take fights away from guys who have sweated in camps and been away from their families and denied themselves the pleasures of life to stay in shape, to perform, to earn a living, and to perform for our entertainment, risking their lives literally, and to have these judges come and just take something away from them like that? Nah, we can't support that, man. We can't allow that to become a thing that just happens over and over and over again. We have to have a stronger voice when it comes down to justice in the sport of boxing, you know, and use our platforms. We don't have to make diss videos on one another. We can make great videos of commentary and editorial. Thank you so much for the support, and thank you so much for returning for another show, man. I really appreciate that. And I always make sure I write down the names when I don't get a chance to address you. If it's not live at that moment, on the very next show, I come back and acknowledge what someone has done as far as donating to the channel. So thank you so much. We really appreciate what you do here. Jupiter B says, I love the Three Wise Men show yesterday. Been promoting it. I learn something every time I come to your channel. Man, that's what's up, man. That's all love, and we really appreciate that. I don't take credit for that. I got to include my brother Scrapbook and Kurt Anderson for their contributions. We always put our heads together and discuss what we want to do and how we should present it. And we think that we have hit a certain formula that we really want to stick to. But much respect and love for what you're saying and your kind words. And yeah, just share the shows, tell people about it. We know that there are far more people out there listening and watching than what we see in our chats or what the channel shows. But it's nice to know that some people have actually started to come in and say, hey, here I am. I've been out there. I've been checking you out. And that's what's really inspiring, because we don't get a lot of thumbs downs on those shows, and there's a reason for that. And I think one of the strongest reasons is because it's earnest and honest boxing talk, historical boxing talk from knowledgeable people and people who actually present respectfully an aspect of respect for the sport and the participants of the sport. So that's very important as well. So let's see what else we got out here. Brown on Boxing says, prayers for the boxing historian, Scrapbook Boxing. Thank you so much for that, Brown on Boxing. And Winston Lee has joined us. He's given us the triple deuce and a triple drink, man. I'll take a sip right now in honor of Winston Lee. That's right, but I just got ice water here because Stormy don't want to be slurring his words while he's doing the chop session, even though, you know, I be slurring my words sometimes anyway. I don't know if that's age or what, but I'll take a sip to Winston Lee. One thing about talking on these airwaves, man, your mouth and throat do get dry. It's like, man, you have to keep a cold drink next to you. I learned that early on. And some of the other brothers, they forget to do it when they get going. I try to have my drink ready when I go live, because it's like, you need it. You need it. Whatever man says, I agree. Crooked judges are the worst part of boxing. Yes, sir, man. It's like, you know, the crooked judges aspect is something that we really have to go in on them. I mean, we could get angry and upset that fighters ain't fighting each other or whatever. That has happened throughout the sport in history. But one thing that we don't have to tolerate is these shitty judges, man, that come out there and have tremendous impact on fighters' lives and careers, man. You know, we got to get rid of that. And these crooked sanctioning bodies as well. You know, Brown on Boxing says they're paid off. Curtis Anderson says, I'm happy that we can all come together as a community to talk boxing. Certainly, most definitely, Kurt. And I know you and I, we're the same age, and we could go back 15 years ago, and this kind of thing wasn't there for us. And we could stand outside or be on the job and stand in the parking lot, be talking about boxing till the sun come up, but never thought we'd be able to sit in the comfort of our own homes and just turn on a station and listen and participate and be in chats and send super chats and, emails and everything. It has really become a tremendous growth spurt for the sport and the sport's followers. Nothing like that. Could you imagine, and I had mentioned this chat to Kurt Sugar when we were having a conversation. I said, could you imagine if Ali was able to enjoy the social media age? Man, Ali 24/7, that would have been something, man. That would have been something. And social media or media coverage of fighters grew tremendously and exponentially when Ali was in his later portion of his career. What it was when he started and what it was when he retired, it had grown tremendously. And just to imagine if he could have had some type of influence on the sport, like in the times that we live in now. Think Floyd Mayweather Jr.'s fame and box office for boxing, but Ali's character and his sense of having a way of moving and touching people. Oh my goodness. You'd be talking about somebody, they wouldn't even want him to box no more. They'd be wanting him to be the king or the president or whatever. It's like Ali was just that influential. One time known as the most famous man in the world, huh? The most photographed guy, Ali, he went and had dinner and sat with kings and princes and queens, all over the earth, man, from all walks of life. He was something. I don't think there's been a politician or any type of world official that has kissed more babies than Muhammad Ali. That brother was always over there as an ambassador, man, but as an ambassador, world champion, representing what the moniker a people's champion really means. That was Muhammad Ali, man. An amazing person. Amazing person, bro. Yep. Let's see. Willie Beecham is out there. He says, what's up with it, chat? Kurt and Stormy, what's going on with you? And Bruce Gold says, Ali would all have been the king of the internet. Yeah, he would, man. He would. Something. I want to take a moment real quick to welcome my brother, Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens. What's going on with you, Reggie? Just the opening conversation was about, the sport returning and we not having the return of the fans yet. So the audience effect, and what are your thoughts on it, since boxing has resumed? And I'm asking you right now, Reggie, what are your thoughts on the audience effect since boxing has resumed?
Man, I was a little puzzled when they were deciding to come back without fans, and I was wondering how it was going to affect these boxers. But I think I remember hearing Shakur Stevenson or one of the boxers when they asked about it, how it'd be strange going into it. But when they're in the gym, they're sparring. There's not many people in there. When they fought in the amateurs, it wasn't always amongst big crowds. So a lot of them kind of go back into that type of spirit. But just being able to actually hear the instructions from the coach can be a plus. But sometimes having fans in there can make a fighter dig a little bit deeper when there's a little bit of thought to want to quit in the fight, to maybe take some time off. That can push a fighter. And these situations, maybe they can get the same thing out of a coach, being able to hear a coach. and really just focusing in on the fight. There's no outside distractions. It's just them and their opponent. And a lot of times I think they're kind of tuning out audiences to for most of the time, but sometimes you're unable to do that. So it takes away that aspect of being interfere with sticking to a game plan or following and paying attention to a fight. So it's been turning out better than I thought, except some of these fighters ain't always in shape, but the aspects of an audience, these fighters have been doing a pretty good job fighting in these empty boxes or wherever the hell they're fighting at. But I don't know. I've been enjoying it, and I don't know. I've like I said, I was someone who was against them fighting without an audience, but it's grown on me. I've grown to like the way the sport is, and plus I like hearing instructions from the corner, so now I can hear what coaches are saying if I do turn the volume up. So I missed it a lot of times, but being able to hear that, I think that's a good part of the game. So for those who listen to it with the commentary, the volume up, they can hear what coaches are telling these fighters during the fight, where a lot of times it's kind of muted out with the sound of an audience. But I'm liking it.
Yeah, you know, and we can kind of really zero and focus in on the fighters. Not that we weren't before. Excuse me, but I just think that it has something to do with it being, you know, live, and there's contact being made. You know, it's just something. I can't really at this very moment explain what it is for me personally, but I don't miss the audience. I don't. I've acknowledged the audience more in retrospect of fights that have happened, you know, like in the past, and never when it was, you know, live. It's amazing how that is, unless you're there, you know, if you're sitting in the audience and something's taking place and it's spectacular and you're a part of the experience. But at home on TV, it's not that same thing. And right now with these fighters, especially when they black out the backdrop and, you know, zoom the camera lenses in on the participants in the ring, it's like you don't think about the audience that much anyway. And guess what? Here's a little secret for anybody that don't realize it. But that's what they do when the stadiums and arenas don't sell out anyway. They blacken the stadium out and draw the camera angles in where you could primarily just see the ring and just a little darkness outside the ring, making you think like, you know, there's a lot going on, but it's not. You know, it's still the same thing. Remember when Tyson Fury was fighting those couple of fights on ESPN? And they were talking about he hadn't even sold out like 4,000 seats or something. It was like they darkened that place up and made it look like they pushed everybody in close. It looked like from a couple of camera angles, there was a lot of people in there. Man, it was like 50 people. I was like, it's like, so yeah, that's one of those things that, you know, I don't know, man. It's like, but I'm enjoying it. Say, hey, the only thing we could get to is that at that Ed Hearn promotion where they were fighting on his plantation out there when Dillian White got knocked out. That was kind of nice, you know, that he got knocked out right there behind the White House. Huh? Remember that, Reggie?
Oh, that was history. That was so historic. I'll never forget that.
I wish Ken Norton was still alive. They could have brought him in and sat him ringside because, you know, he played in that movie where they had him fighting people and stuff on the plantation. So that's why I said that. Ken Norton playing that. Man, I don't know. Years ago, that movie was received a different way, but now when you look at it, it's kind of like, you know what? That wasn't cool. But anyway, speaking of Dillian White, Reggie, I got a chance to see his interview that he did shortly after the fight. Did you see his interview?
No. Dang, I don't think I did watch it.
Okay. Well, apparently he has a friend that's a journalist on IFL, and I don't care if I mention their name because they're a big platform anyway or whatever. But I wanted to get into a little bit of a conversation tonight on that. But I just see that Kurt Sugar has popped in on there with us. What's going on with you, Kurt? How you doing this evening, brother? Kurt, you there? You're on mute if you're there. Maybe he's still getting together. We'll come back to Kurt. But what I was going to say, Reggie, about his interview, it was done just a couple days after the fight, I guess. And he was talking about how motivated he was to get right back in the ring. And he was going right back into training. And he feels like he just made a couple of mistakes. And it was something that he could clean up right away, and that, he's learned his lesson about his preparation, and he's not making any changes to his team. These are all things that he was going over. I guess the interview was like 30 minutes, so it's a lengthy interview. But at the essence of what he was saying, he was not, it could sound good. And there were people who wrote like comments. There were people who were setting up comments in the chat of that interview, but I don't think they really understood from a boxing sense of things is that he sounds like a guy in denial, Reggie. That's what I'm getting at. Long story short, Dillian Whyte sounds like a guy in denial when he was, on that interview, dismissing what had happened to him as if it were something that, like you walked outside, your jacket had a little rip in the sleeve, but you could sew it up and it's okay. No, it's going to be more than that. You know what I mean? And he boasted about the fact that he had put Povetkin down a couple of times, but he didn't feel like, even when he got hit the shot, it was like he wasn't hurt or this or that. He was like, I just, the fight, the fight was over or whatever. I was like, yeah, dude, that's what happens when you get hit a shot and somebody take you out. You don't know what happened. You understand? You'll reach for all kinds of excuses and everything. You could look at the tape over and over. You could think that, man, maybe if I just had moved my hand or had my chin tucked or whatever, but you didn't. Okay? And what it means is that he hit you a single shot and put you out. You hit him a couple of times and dropped him, but he put you out. So who is more than likely able to get rid of the other guy? He is. So it's like you still haven't learned the most important aspect of this, which is basically in boxing, the idea is to hit and not be hit, but you got hit. And when you got hit, you got killed, basically. So, I mean, what are your thoughts, Reggie, on that, of what I said that White had to offer about himself in this fight?
He's making a big mistake and underestimating the hell out of Povetkin. And I'm tripped out that this fight is taking place so dang quick. I'm used to fighters being suspended at the being knocked out like that. So I guess the rules and standards in the UK don't exist. So they letting this dude go right back into a camp. And matter of fact, I remember seeing him release a video probably like a week after that showing him back in the gym. And even looking at him working on that bag, he looked much slower. He looks slow as hell. It's something is gone from Dillian Whyte. His speed is diminished. His ability to move is diminished. And I was seeing that in that fight. He was throwing body shots, not really bending to dig with the shots. He was kind of throwing shots from just the straight up position as if he's going to throw a jab or something. I mean, his ability to duck and move out the way of stuff, it ain't there anymore. And the way Povetkin hit him, man, that setup Povetkin put on him is like, it's bound to be there again for Povetkin. And Povetkin early on in that fight was throwing these big ass hooks. So going in his second fight, he understands who Dillian Whyte is. To me, he has better movement than Dillian White, and he can go in here and come out with the same result. And like you said, both of them tested their power. Dillian White was able to drop the guy twice. I think the first knockdown was more of a kind of an off-balance push, but the second knockdown that caught him clean, it dropped him. The guy got right back up, but when he touched Dillian White one good time, it was over with. And that punch is bound to come back and hunt Dillian White again. And along with this guy just boxing Dillian White better, he can start moving around on Dillian White. I don't know what's the effects of that punch, that knockout on Dillian White, and what it's done to his chin, but it's gonna get tested again. And man, this dude is tripping, trying to rush back into this fight so damn soon. Not to say avoid it, but to get the fight in November, like, yeah, he's just asking for it. Ain't no way he's gonna get back in that hunt, becoming the. He wants to get back in this quick position to put himself for that mandatory spot, but I think that mandatory spot should be gone, and he's rushing himself for nothing.
I want to say shout out to G Funky Boxing out there. Salute to you, G Funky. What's good, bro? Listen, Reggie, you made some valid points there, but this is how I'm gonna come in and support your valid points. When you said he was bending over a certain kind of way and then he was like, you know, that's all improper technique. And when you see about him getting hit on the chin, okay, he got hit on the chin by a puncher, a guy who can knock your head off, okay? Now, I'm going to repeat something that I had heard a long time ago about Alexander Povetkin. You know, he's an Olympic gold medalist. You know this, right? Now, Povetkin, for the era that I forget which year of the Olympics he fought in. However, it has been said that he is the best fighter from that Olympics to never become world champion. Think about that for a moment, because that happened to be during Vladimir Klitschko's reign, right? So, and Klitschko turned back a lot of challenges. He had Emanuel Stewart in his corner. So he fought and defended his title as best as he could while Emanuel was his trainer. And even taking on Povetkin at some point and turning back his challenge. But this is what I wanted to say about that. If he is that, then, you know, didn't AJ bring home a medal? Didn't Wilder bring home a medal? You know, there are other guys, but it's like this man was still out there at the age of 40 trying to get in there and get something done. He still looks youthful. He doesn't look like he's abused himself, you know, or whatever, getting terribly out of shape or anything. But when you listen to White's assessment of what he thought was going on, he dropped the man twice, right? But when you dropped him, he got up both times, meaning there ain't no quit there, huh? Meaning he's been dropped before in the past by Klitschko. You know, it's like if you start making the argument against what White is saying, you can actually see even more how blinded he is by his assessment of things. Let's just get rid of the thought process that they're going to let him back in there so soon after being knocked out, because that doesn't usually happen, which usually means that there's something funny going on behind the scenes with that. They let this guy do what he did against the Rivas and all that with the gloves and the, you know, the PDs and all that. So it's like, okay, but maybe even Povetkin's people who have influence, okay, are saying, okay, yeah, we'll let this go down again because it's a good look for us anyway. You see? And 9 times out of 10, it could happen even quicker this time because he know he can get him. You understand? When he put Povetkin down, it was kind of like flash knockdown. He was a little stunned, but not enough to go to sleep. Well, he hit this guy solid, and the dude was snoring before he hit the canvas. And if you see in that famous clip that I put up behind me on purpose, again, because we're going to wear this one out, folks, he was asleep before he hit the canvas. And when they got him up to his feet, he asked his people what happened. Huh? He actually said in this interview, Reggie, he said that he didn't feel bad or anything. You know, he took a good shot and everything. But he said that I don't know if Povetkin really realized what happened either, because he just kind of looked when I went down and didn't celebrate or nothing. And he said he just raised his hand up. Maybe he was still stunned from when I hit him. I'm like, no, that ain't what it was, brother. When he was looking at you, he was hoping he hadn't murdered you, because you fell stiff like you had been dead for a few days before you hit the canvas, like rigor mortis was in your body. They brought people over there to resurrect you, bro. Smelling salts and everything. He looking at you, he ain't gonna celebrate really good until he know you okay. And that's what a real, legitimate, good-natured boxer will do. He ain't gonna gloat too much until he know that you all right. Then he can, you know, because nobody's in there trying to kill somebody like on purpose. You understand? But this guy he's not even smart enough to acknowledge that, Reggie. He's not even smart enough to make the assessment like, well, you know. And how about this, as you mentioned about his technique? His technique is so woeful, but he's been getting away with it because he's been fighting woeful opponents. Huh? There you go. So it's like the guys that you've been beating, dude, are guys that we're not to respect too much. People been clamoring you to fight others who you avoided. Huh? Luis Ortiz, Dominic Brazil. Huh? It took you a while to accept Povetkin. It was like, when are you going to fight somebody? And if somebody want to say Joseph Parker, get out of here. Joseph Parker is on the take. If somebody want to say Derek Chisora, get out of here. Derek Chisora is just you know what? He's a journeyman over there, not much different than that big tall guy they got over there. I can't think of his name at the moment, but the guy that Povetkin knocked out, Price. You understand? That's who Chisora is. So it's like, really? And you're making these assessments that you're going to be better and everything based on what? He can't even get a proper haircut at the barber shop. But he think he could go in there and just make what happened on this night go away. Oh, it's just a couple things I need to tighten up. You can't tighten up the chin, bruh. Especially when it's been loosened up. You know what I'm saying? So what is wrong with this guy? Come on, Reggie. Let me hear something. What you got to say on this?
Shit, I'm just waiting to see the next knockout. I'm going to celebrate this shit. I'm looking to celebrate one more time for Povetkin knocking his ass out, because he should not be in this fight. And this is another thing where I think it's one of these Eddie Hearn rushes again. Same way that we seen Eddie Hearn rushing AJ right back into that ring. This is a Eddie Hearn production, and like they say, Dillian White is a slave, and that's how Dillian White functions. He's going to get right back in that mug. But what is this? It's October. Damn, that's 2 months. This dude gonna get back in the ring with the dude who cleaned him out. I mean, like I say, man, I'm preparing my celebration so I can be up jumping and shit. I'm gonna make sure I shit over to Dillian White, because I want him to see how happy I am to see him get knocked the hell out, just based on who he is. Because when it comes to Dillian, you know, the pride of what you expect from a fighter, you know, being humble in victory and things like that. He gloats too much and shit. I mean, that's his prerogative, but this shit ain't respected. So when things like this happens to someone like him, you expect people to laugh and shit. You know, he try to kick a horse when it's down, is the type he is. And now that it's happening to him, he's been hush hush about it. I mean, he came out early and was like he's still his same self, but that's the initial effect. So I know it's affecting him as time is going on. But he knows people's looking to watch him get his head knocked off, and I think it's a pay-per-view event. I don't know if that was for us or for the folks over there, but I did see something coming out that's a pay-per-view event, and I'm willing to pay that money to watch Dylan White get his ass knocked out once again. But one of the proudest moments I've seen in 2020, even 2019, was him getting knocked the hell out. It was well overdue, and thank God there was the matchup set up for Povetkin, who they looked at as being a kind of a walkover opponent. So this is cherry pick gone wrong is basically what it was, in my opinion. But I'm waiting for it. I can't wait for November. November can't get here fast enough for me to see Povetkin knock this dude's head off. But I think Povetkin, and then the crazy thing, so you're dealing with Povetkin, the older guy, you're keeping him active. I think this benefits Povetkin much more than it's going to benefit Dillian White. Is Povetkin's able to stay active? He's a heavy-hitting puncher.
He may look even more scintillating in the second fight.
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely. He stayed fluid, man. And that's good for an older fighter. I mean, you expect him to rest a little bit, but he didn't really put in too much work. He didn't really have to break himself down. He's still in shape. So going into camp, he really ain't got to push himself too damn hard. So I can't wait for that shit.
Thrill Hill is out there in the chat. He says he was hurt enough not to get up. You damn sure right about that, Thrill Hill. And Tone Brown says, I think it's a bad idea if White jumps right back in there so soon. He will be more prone to getting knocked out now. Absolutely, man. And it's not like he got knocked out in the last part of a tough, grueling fight or something like that. Dude, he got knocked out in vicious fashion early in the fight. It's like the fight hadn't even gone to the middle rounds yet. What was that, like the fourth or fifth round, right? It's like, dude, he got pasted. All you got to do is look at the replay. He got pasted, bro. And that right there, I mean, there's, that's tough to come back from. And Bruce Gold says he thinks he's going to pull another Lennox Lewis. I think not. He doesn't have Lennox Lewis boxing ability. Lennox Lewis had a huge right hand and a great left hook and uppercut, but he could box. He was an Olympic gold medalist. He beat everybody in the Olympics, including the big Cuban guy and Riddick Bowe. So it's like Lennox wasn't no chump. He didn't come from kickboxing. He boxed all his life since he was a damn teenager. Man, get out of here. It's like Tone Brown says, but we don't like White, so go on right ahead and get knocked out again. Whatever man says 100. G Funky Boxing says, woo, that was a clean KO. It was so clean, G Funky, it wasn't a speck of dust on it. Only on the back of his pants when they hit the canvas. Thrill Hill says Marcus Brown was getting hit by the same shot. Dillian will as well. Yep. Lawrence Williams says 2004 for Povetkin. Yep. Okay. I told you Lawrence Williams is the resident stat man. He be on it. Bruce Gold says that's the story of Howard Davis Jr. from 72. Bruce Gold says 76. Let's see. Brown on Boxer says knocked his dumb ass out. And he says that Boxing Conversation with Reggie Owens had a great call of the knockout too. Yeah. And I was listening to Reggie too, because I that night that it happened, I was a little bit ahead of you on the call. So when it went down, I was just waiting to hear how Reggie responded. And he was like, ooh, oh shit. I was like, yeah, I was listening for that. I was listening, waiting to hear it. Brown on Boxing says David Price, Lawrence Williams also. And Brown on Boxing says chin checked. D-Style is out there. What's going on with you, D-Style? He says, what's up? Brown on Boxing says he got knocked the fuck out. And Reggie is laughing. Whatever man says, facts. I'm glad he got KO'd. I think we all are. We can celebrate that. Everybody take a shot every time you see him go down in this clip here. Everybody be drunk by the end of the show. Lawrence Williams says, I wonder if White will come in heavier. He was 252 in the first fight. That's all he know how to do, Lawrence Williams, is to come in out of shape. Why stop now? Brown on Boxing says, he can't remember what the hell happened. That's what I'm trying to say. Brown on Boxing says, he was sloppy and got knocked out like the trash can he is. And Ramsey Suiton III says, clean as a brand new pair of white chucks. Yeah, man, this is something that, again, we can still take solace and have fun in the fact that this guy got his. But when you listen to him talk about why he wants to get right back in there and everything without polishing up anything, without trying to get some better boxing technique for himself, this is not something you just go right back in and think that, oh, I'm going to hold my chin down tucked better and I'm going to hold my guard up better and everything. Remember, let's just remember, when Povetkin knocked him out, he threw a jab and moved over for the hook and uppercut on a movement that you used to see Tommy Morrison do all the time and Mike Tyson used to do a lot smoother, quicker, and prettier. And when I say prettier, meaning the devastation of the two-punch combination was such that sometimes you didn't know what Mike hit somebody with until you got a chance to see the replay. So Povetkin was out of that school of that mode of slugger, Tyson and Morrison. And that's what he got in there. And Dillian White, because he has poor balance, he's too much heavy loaded on his front foot. He doesn't even throw the jab properly. Do you know there are photos of him with his jab fist, like the back side of his the side of his palm facing the floor, like you're pushing your punch out like a karate punch or something. That's not a jab, bro. That's not a jab. So this guy's technique is way off. He's been getting away with doing shit wrong because there's not a lot of good teaching out here. I've been telling you guys this since Moses, okay? There's not a lot of good teaching out here. And the people that are around him, he said that he wasn't going to change them, mind you. He wasn't going to bring anybody in, mind you. He going to get the same damn results, mind you. Because it's like there's no teaching going on, bro. There's no teaching going on here. He should not be well into his number of fights like he is and not know those basic things that I'm talking about. Because you're talking about the heavyweight division where it really goes down. And in the heavyweight division, all it takes is one punch. Huh? When he knocked out Chisora in that, 10th round or 11th round, whatever that was, when he knocked Chisora out, when that occurred, that was after a man who was tired and they were in there pounding on each other. This guy was still relatively fresh. He got dropped a couple of times. Yes, he did. But when he got in there to land his shot, it was a good shot, but it wasn't even Povetkin's best shot. His best shot is that left hook. And he happened to throw an uppercut that was through the man's guard. His chin was right there sitting on the edge of the table, and he knocked the glass off of it. Huh? So this is what I'm talking about. Dude, that is all this man needs to know, and that he needs to go back to the drawing board. Povetkin should not be his next opponent. He should not. And even if he does beat Povetkin in the next fight, we might be able to make an argument of the case of, well, Povetkin is 40 plus. Is he starting to slip? Is he going downhill or whatever? Because that's another thing you can still bring into it. But it happens. But he needs to really take account of that I was not good on that night. No matter what I did as far as getting knockdowns of the other guy, I was not good that night. That's why I got knocked out. And then go back to the gym and try to correct some things. But don't come back out there saying, oh, I dusted off. I'm good now. I'm ready to get in there. Because Povetkin can do that to him in the first round. He can't take it. He couldn't take that. He just, he got hit solid and he went. Hell, Joseph Parker had him on the floor. Come on, man. Oscar Rivas had him hurt. Come on. So, yeah, but we can move on from that, Reggie. But I just thought we could open up with some conversation on the the audience effect, and then move into that, because I caught that interview this afternoon, and it's an entertaining interview too. He said some real suspect stuff on there too about his friend, the guy interviewing him. I didn't like what I heard there. It sounded a little too on the bosom buddy side, so I don't know what was happening there. But yeah, we'll move on. It had been reported, Reggie, that the former champ, Deontay the Bronze Bomber Wilder, is back in training and everything in Miami or somewhere in Florida. I think they said Miami. And he's getting himself ready, gearing up for the trilogy, the rubber match of his fight for his to try to regain his WBC title from Tyson Fury, the Gypsy King. There have been reports that, seeing him in the gym and everything with his shirt off and everything, he looks like he's in really good shape and everything. But, Deontay doesn't look like the type of guy who will get fat and everything in between fights anyway. So hopefully he's doing some things as far as his conditioning, strengthening up his legs, running some miles. I remember when I heard that he didn't run, I did make a comment on that a while back, a long time ago. I said, that's not good. If he don't like to run, it ain't going to be fun. I'm telling you, because you need your legs. You need your legs in a boxing match. So hopefully he's added running to his conditioning program. What are your thoughts on hearing the news of the champ being back in the gym and getting himself ready, Reggie? Or had you heard?
Yeah, no, I've been hearing and seeing the videos on it, but I think it's a good thing for him to be in camp, and especially if his opponents is already been training and keeping himself in camp. You want to always make sure you're out doing what your opponent is doing, but also doing it and not overtraining yourself as well. That's the other thing, because you looking to get back into that winning column. You don't want to make sure you ain't burning yourself out. But I think it's good he's back in great physical conditioning, but this goes beyond just the conditioning part. That's a huge aspect too, but he has to start working on these tools that he needs to add into his game plan. But with the conditioning side of thing, I hope he's doing at least 3 miles a day or something like that, if not more. At least 3 miles a day, along with going into that gym. And he has to get into that road work thing. He got to get away from the running in the pool and doing sprints like that. Man, hopefully that's what he's doing to keep himself in shape, because he needs those legs. He needs to have his legs up under him, because he's going to have to start becoming someone that's looking to go into the full 12 round with a good, with a good tank, not a tank to where he's needing to take off, needing to catch a second wind. He has a tank that drives him all the way through this damn fight. He just drives and drives and drives through these rounds, and that way he can push a 275-pound Tyson Fury, because even at that size, you want to make sure Tyson Fury's heart is just working the hell out of itself and pushing them lungs on Tyson Fury. He's a much heavier guy. He needs to suck up more oxygen. Make him the one that's taking the breaks. And that's where I think Wilder can be effective, with great cardio conditioning and adding more effectiveness to his tools. And really, he doesn't. The thing he can add to that tool bag is having great feet and a piston-like jab, just a constant working jab, not searching for one singular shot. He can get it off. And matter of fact, his jab is so goddamn strong, he can fuck around and hurt Tyson Fury, and bam, that sets up either that right hand or the left hook. I mean, that's what I hope to see out of Deontay Wilder, is just going through the one-on-ones of boxing and not relying on that right hand. Put that right hand in your back pocket until it's time to pull the shit. But yeah, that's all I got on that.
Yeah, I want to quickly go back to the chat real quick, and I'll have my final thought on the Wilder. Skinny Kenny says he was always sloppy and out of shape, talking about Dillian White, and he says he actually has some skills, but he is not a real good athlete, and he is not a big engine guy, so that is why he gets sloppy. I totally disagree with you 1000% there, Skinny Kenny. He doesn't have skills, and the reason that you know that is that when he got in with someone who is skilled, he always got pressed to task. It's just that those guys, even though they had skills, they weren't great. Okay? He lost to Joshua. He was life and death with Parker. He was life and death with Rivas. And Chisora was hanging tough in there till he got fatigued and got caught with a shot because his technique wasn't good, but he had boxing skills. Dillian White doesn't have great boxing skills. He does not. It just goes to show the quality of opposition that he's been in with, and anyone who has skills give him problems. AJ, okay, and the other guys I just mentioned. So it's like there is a separation of talent there, which actually speaks to the notion of why he doesn't want to fight anyone in the top of the division. He wants the title shot because he wants that bank that comes with that title shot and the opportunity to go out on a shield, you know, because like he's talking about this fight, he's dismissing the fact that he got knocked the fuck out, but you can't dismiss it. We got the tapes, and I gladly show them each time we come on if you want to see them. But it's like, the thing is, you have to know that the guys who have better skills are going to do better work against you. So it's like you're delusional, as Ed Hearn likes to say, right? You're being very delusional. So that's the thing. And with that being said, it's like this man doesn't have top flight ability. He's a middle to journeyman type fighter. I've seen journeymen for over 30 years. This man is a journeyman. That's what he is. He's not a contender. He's a journeyman. And he got knocked the hell out like a damn journeyman gets knocked out. And I'll tell you something else about Mr. Povetkin. Mr. Povetkin got dropped a couple of times. But let's not get beyond the fact that he is 40, 42 years old, somewhere between there, right? And what was he doing to people when he was Dillian's age? Let's just back up on that for a minute. So he got that done to him by a skillful dude who is at an advanced age. Okay? George Foreman was knocking people out, 40 years old, knocking them out. Okay? Povetkin did the same thing. Now, can Povetkin go in there and do that to AJ and Wilder and Fury? Probably not, because those guys are more skilled than he is. But to guys that are just marginal or whatever, he's got a puncher's chance, because that's exactly what he is. He's a puncher. And stop giving guys credit that don't deserve it. And I'm not fussing at you. I'm just pontificating. I'm being exasperating on the notion of this guy is not that good. But I'll tell you something. He's entertaining. He has gift for gab, just like Tyson Fury. So he'll give you something to write about in the press clippings and stuff, right? Oh, did you hear what he said? That kind of thing. He's very good at that. And we need that in the sport. But that's okay. But just leave it for what it is. Don't equate that with his ability to fight in that ring, because he fights like poor in the ring. And that's why he's so inactive and things like that, because he doesn't have the merits of what comes out of his mouth to pair with what he puts up with his dukes. Okay? Ain't nobody worried about that guy. Nobody. So when he does get in there, well, especially since Povetkin showed at the age of 40 plus how easy it is to do it, don't you think other guys are going to be chomping at the bit to get to him? Hell, I heard Andy Ruiz Jr. was like really ripping into him and ready to say stuff about him, right? Because of that. And you know, once someone's had the sheets pulled back, everybody take a peek, right? Some may like what they see. Some may say, hey, I knew it was all the time. I knew it was that little all the time. All of that shit, right? But it is what it is. You pull them curtains back and somebody is going to be shamed. Huh? And that's what it is. And he's, again, he got a gift for gab. He talks a lot of shit, but he ain't got sense enough to know I was naked. Huh? And they saw me. Huh? He ain't got sense enough for that. He thought that when he told those people, hey, can y'all pull that off of Instagram and pull it off of Sky Sports, don't show that highlight knockout clip, he thought that was going to be the end of it. But it wasn't. Huh? It wasn't. So let me go back to the chat real quick. Ramsey Susan III says, facts. I've always hated to run. That's why I stopped boxing. You need your legs. Yup. Skinny Kenny says, the whole key for Wilder is foot movement. He needs legs. Wilder needs to maintain his distance. Wilder is actually faster and better from the outside. D-Style says, how's chat doing? J. Dixon says, it's Stormybman. Fist up. And Jupiter B says, do y'all think Wilder needs to add bulk to deal with Fury's size, or think he should stay lean and agile? Sorry if this been discussed. I left out for a while. You glad we left that door open for you, Jupiter B? Yeah, Wilder, he should stay lean. He should stay lean. He should be at his most effective and what's best for him. He shouldn't have to worry about what Fury does, because Wilder can punch. And his punch on the chin of a 300 to 400 pound guy is the same as if it was on a guy who weighed 200 pounds. It's the same. D-Styles speaking of Bruce Goals, and J. Dixon is speaking. Skinny Kenny says Fury and Fury's team don't like speed. They don't like their opponent to be faster than them. Ben Davison did several talks on Wilder. It's all Ben talked about was Wilder's speed. G Funky says Povetkin got up like the Undertaker and buried White in Hearn's backyard. Yes, he did. And D-Style Boxing says buried alive match. And Skinny Kenny says, oh, Dillian White sucks, but his jab, he has jab and decent left hook. Goes to show you how bad his opponents usually are. White is not going to purposely fight someone good. Thank you. Thank you, Skinny Kenny. But my final thoughts on the on Wilder getting prepared. Yeah, if he could get his conditioning with his road work, he's gonna need his legs, and it doesn't matter that Tyson Fury is going to outweigh him or whatever. Evander Holyfield, almost all of his opponents outweighed him by at least 5 pounds upwards to 50 pounds. So it's like sometimes you get in there and you just got to go out there and bring what you have. And Wilder has something that Evander never had, and that's an eraser. So, he's good. And for him to be in the camp, starting to get himself ready, I just don't want to see no injuries. I don't want to see any of that stuff. Hearing him having pulled muscles and torn ligaments and all that. I don't want all of that. But I'm going to tell you something about his arm injuries too. A lot of those injuries come from poor technique. Okay? If you're not throwing your punches properly, you can hurt yourself more than you hurt the opponent. Destroy your bones in your hands. You have to throw your punches properly. There's a reason. It's called technique. Okay, and guys who can get away with doing stuff, remember, there are pitchers out there that could throw damn near 200-mile-an-hour fastball, right? And it's like no problem. But if a guy doesn't have any ability to get it inside that strike zone, he's just throwing a hard pitch. Who's going to have him out there pitching for them? He's going to be all over the place. Remember that baseball player they used to call Wild Thing? This is like... You got to have technique, man. Got to have technique. And that's something that Wilder can tighten up on. And I'm hoping that someone has got him tighten up on his short distance punches. Punches from medium range and short distance and close. Wilder needs to be working on inside fighting. I don't think he can fight on the inside. I will say it publicly so you guys can write that down and take it and Put it on your bulletin boards and on your mirrors, under your pillow at night. You can stuff it in the back of your damn underwear. I don't give a damn. He can't fight on the inside. Okay? And I'm hoping with all the help he's going to get, that's what he's going to have to learn how to do. And it don't take a long time to learn how to fight on the inside. You can learn how to fight on the inside in the camp. You really can. I'll give you an example. When Evander Holyfield prepared for Mike Tyson, okay, he enlisted the help of several heavyweights who were guys who fought on the inside well, and the number one guy was David Tua. During the first couple of weeks of his training camp, training for Mike Tyson, Evander Holyfield trainers, Don Turner and Tommy Brooks, had David Tua and the other guys, I think one guy was Glenn something. Maybe if Lawrence Williams is out there, he might remember, or Mr. Boxing Today would know. He was a contender back then, but he didn't become champion or anything. He had three sparring partners, and David Tua was the main one because he was most physically was like Tyson. The bell would ring for the first round, and those guys would run after Evander really strong and tough and start throwing everything, trying to really beat him up and take him out. And every time Evander didn't respond to that well, they stopped the round and started over. Okay? And after they get a little fatigued, a fresh guy would come in and they do it all over again. They said it took Evander 2 weeks. 2 weeks of sparring. Now, you don't spar every single day, but there are multiple times a week that you will spar, and there are certain number of rounds that you would get in. So it's like this. If it took him 2 weeks to stop that onslaught from those guys, he learned something, but it took him time. You see, preparation. And when the fight happened, when he and Tyson run out there on him like that, he was ready for it. He thought that Tyson was going to open up with a big left hook like he would normally do, but Tyson happened to open up with an overhand right that hit Holyfield high on the head and almost knocked him out in the first round. Many people don't even realize that. But Holyfield was in such good condition, great condition, that he took the shot, fired his own back, fought Tyson off of him, and gave as good as he got in that first round. And even with Tyson hitting him with a punch after the bell at the end of the first round, Holyfield responded with his own punch even later after the bell. And Tyson just gave him a smile when he walked back to his corner like, oh, okay, he ain't going to let me punk him. But I mention that to mention the fact that Holyfield had to learn. He could always fight on the inside, but he had to deal with the pressure and the strength of a Tyson because Tyson was very strong. And he had fast, heavy hands, sharp punches. So those men who got him in shape for that, it took them 2 weeks to get him to be able to set that down. You know what I mean? And then they went back to their regular sparring and stuff like that, once they knew Evander was able to deal with that onslaught from the first bell. And that was very smart that they did that, because had they not done that and just went through regular sparring routines and regimen, he might have got knocked out, because it's like, you know, Tyson comes out with that onslaught, right? And most guys are not ready for that. A lot of guys have been intimidated by that. But that makes the difference when somebody knows what you have to offer and they can meet you where you stand. See, in the second fight, Wilder wasn't even expecting Fury to come running at him like that. It was like because he had been chasing Fury down, remember, in the first fight and things like that. So to switch the game plan up on him, that put him back on his heels for a moment. But next thing you know, Fury had momentum, and the momentum grew and everything. And he was the bigger, heavier guy. Okay, that doesn't mean stronger, just bigger, heavier. But again, the mental pressure that it put on someone that's not ready for it, and Wilder wasn't ready for it. He has no excuse going into the third fight because he's seen two different manners of which Fury can attack him or fight him. So he has to be prepared for everything. But don't forget to do what he wants to do and be successful at it. So that's what I had to offer on that with Wilder, Reggie, and we can move forward. unless you had one more thing you wanted to say.
No, we can move forward.
All right. So we got word that tomorrow ESPN is actually got a fight card that's going to feature Efe Ajagba. Efe Ajagba is fighting Johnny Rice, probably the distant great grandnephew of Uncle Ben's Rice. So I don't know, but I'm sure that they didn't bring Johnny out there to take Efe out. Now, I looked Johnny up on the internet. He's a big, strong dude, big muscles and all of that and everything, but muscles don't win the fights, you know. So I don't know. Did you know anything about this card, Reggie? Because it had not been advertised.
Nope. And that's the dumb thing. That's the dumb mistake that Efe made. I know he's from another country, but I'm pretty sure he's been here long enough and schooled enough on who he just signed with. And it's unfortunate that he should be a featured heavyweight, being I think he's the second or the third heavyweight prospect or possible contender. But for you not to even announce his fight, like, man, that's BS. And Efe's going to get a lot of that going over to the top rank. He's going to get a whole lot of that. And now he has a new team, new coach. We're going to see how that turns out, because we see how it turned out for Dillian White. Going to get a new team, new coach, got knocked the hell out. So I want to see what happens with Efe. He didn't drop Ronnie Shields. Shown vulnerability in the fight. So he's been dropped before. So it shows that there's some soft spots somewhere in that chin. There's a button on that mug. So we'll see what this opponent who he's going in there with comes with. But I think it's jacked up that Bob Arum would do Efe like that.
Yeah, it's interesting that the young man would make those kind of moves. And the guy he's fighting is a big dude. So if he's got any kind of punching power, you know, Efe needs to be on his P's and Q's, because, you know, big men throw a shot and land, it can still hurt you, you know. And I don't know how much Top Rank got invested in him. Probably not a lot, because they have done absolutely no advertising. I heard about this being on Blue Blood's channel earlier. Shout out to Blue Blood Sports TV, man. And it's like, what the devil? They didn't even mention this all week on ESPN or nothing. I haven't seen anything. They didn't even mention it on the last ESPN broadcast, where they'd tell you. You know, we did a show last week where we talked about the October fight cards. So this wasn't even on that, where we could talk about it or, you know, say it's coming up, because, you know, they got to have the weigh-in on Thursday. I mean, on Friday, right? Which they had a weigh-in today. So come on. It's like, this is really bad. This is really bad, bro. But taking on Uncle Ben's great grandnephew, I don't know, man. You know, Johnny Rice might come out there and, you know, pull off an upset. You know. So I see G Funky out there laughing because I said he was Uncle Ben's great nephew. Yeah, man, but they gotta, you know, these guys, I think he's gonna really miss Ronnie Shields, man. Ronnie Shields knows the sport. Again, he was around the Duvas and the Bentons, and even a part of the main event stable of trainers and coaches that worked with the likes of Taylor, Whitaker, you know, Holyfield, Biggs, all those guys. Ronnie Shields was around those men in their careers. So it's not like he's going to tell these guys something bad. You know what I mean? And knowing Shelly Finkel and having a almost lifelong relationship with him, people can help guide you. I don't know what the guy is thinking, man, except for if it's that ethnic thing where he think he just knows better for himself, then, you know, welcome to the world is all I got to say. Welcome to the world. So, But yeah, that's pretty much it. We'll see what happens. I don't know what type of what time we've got on that. I don't think they even announced what time it'll be. We'll have to look it up, because on the poster it doesn't show. It doesn't show on the poster what time the fight is gonna be. So I guess we'll be just surprised like everybody else. Catch it like everybody else.
That's the thing I hate with some of these. Yeah, I'm about to say that's the one thing I hate about some of these promotions is when you go to look up information on the fight is that they always lack the time and also a possible time of when the main event should start. I'm like, that just shows that there's a half-assedness to the way they go about carrying on promotions, that they something as important as time, broadcasting and things like that. Like, man, I mean, they got to get that type of minor-ish together when it comes to this thing with these promotional companies.
Yeah. Unfortunately, they do this kind of stuff, man, and it's like, now we got what's his name? Tug Nyambayar, also aka King Tug. Well, I think the last time I saw him was when he was in there getting beat down by Gary Allen Russell Jr., and that took place in February, before the pandemic. I don't know if you saw that, but King Tug lost a 12-round decision, Reggie, to Gary Russell when he challenged him back then. But he's coming out there tomorrow night, and he on this card, and he's gonna face Cobia Breedy, who's like 15-0, and they're fighting at the Mohegan Sun Casino as part of the undercard of the Lubin fight with Abreu. So the thing about King Tug, Reggie, is he's from Mongolia, another one of those tough Mongolian dudes, and he's 11-1 with 9 KOs. And I don't think that Breedy is the guy that's been brought in, as the favored guy. I think they're featuring Tug in this match. So it may be interesting to see this. Now, the only thing is that Breedy's knockout record in 15 fights, he's only got 5 KOs. So it's not like he's been putting people to sleep. So it may be a featured match for King Tug, but I could stand to see a knockout. What are your thoughts on the card that's coming up for the Lubin main event against Abreu?
You talking about the Tug one?
Yeah.
I'm looking at this opponent's record, man, and seeing he has a 15 wins, 5 knockouts, so it shows he has no power. I think he's going in here to get smashed on. He's out of Barbados. And looking at his opponents, he's been fighting guys with all these losses, more losses than they have wins on their records. And that's the way they prop them up. So he has a lot of TKOs and stuff against those lesser opponents. And once he started moving up with people who had more wins than losses, he wasn't able to stop these guys. And these are like 8 and 6 round fights. Let me see. He just started moving into 10-round fights 2 fights ago. I think not another guy, but I haven't seen what he looks like on film neither, but just basing it off of this, I guess what we call paper, I don't think he stands a chance against Tugastow. And Tugastow's a pretty rugged guy. He was in there against Gary Russell, and, he just faced a tough time being able to get his punches off. Gary Russell's hitting him with so many shots, but never really hurting the guy, not once in that fight. But I think Tug will go in here and dog this guy. So I see a clear victory for Tug. Maybe he leaves the day with 10 knockouts on his record, on top of adding another win on it.
Yeah, it sounds like a guy that they've been, padding the record of the guy so that when they have a featured card coming up, they can throw him in there as an opponent. And people say, oh, well, this guy is only 15-0 and this and that. You know, it's like, but people don't understand how that's how boxing works, man. On the other side, while they're showing you this flash with the wavy hand, behind the back, they're waving and making a different type of deal for a future plan that you don't even know about. You know what I mean? That's what they did with Peter McNeely before Mike Tyson got out of prison. They were building Peter McNeely up. He fought all of those doggone fights. He was 30-something-0 or 30-1 or whatever it was. He had a decent record going in there with Mike Tyson, and he ain't fought since. You know, so it's like, you know, he was cannon fodder. That's what that was. And, you know, people look at that and they think, oh, okay, this guy is all right. No, they built that up. So, but yeah, I see you, Thrill Hill. He says, Abril's fighting Boots. Yeah, I misspoke. I meant to say Breedy against Nyambayar, but, yeah, I know Boots, Jaron Ennis, he's fighting, this Dominican, Reggie, and that's interesting because Dominican guys can be tough, man. It's like he's not necessarily brought in to win, but he gonna perform. You can believe that. And he's facing Juan Carlos Abril. So, you know, and those Dominican guys can be very tough. But Jaron Ennis, man, his talent is off the charts. I once remarked that he reminded me of a Roy Jones-like talent when Roy was like young and still at 154, you know. It's like he looked spectacular almost every outing and stuff like that. And that's kind of like what Boots reminds me of. He has that type of a talent. We'll see how far he goes with his career. But I expect this also to be a showcase for he on this undercard for the Lubin and what's that Lubin card for the main event.
Oh, is he? I think Goucher.
Goucher, yeah. Sorry, I got so many names running in my head. I'm forgetting a couple of the guys. Yeah. So yeah, Boots is going to be an undercard fight for that. So. And this guy, Abril, his record is 23-5-1 with 21 KOs. A lot of Latin fighters on his record, and he's 33 years old. So you know it's kind of like, you know, Boots is in his mid-20s. You know, it's like this is a showcase for him, you know. But he's in with a durable guy, so allegedly durable guy. So we'll see. If he has pop in his punches like I think he does, then he should get Abril out of there with a KO. But if the Dominican brother is as strong as I think he may be, it could be a fight that gives Boots some rounds. And I think that, you know, again, when we start talking about fighters who need something to grow so they can move on to another level or whatever. You want your fighter. It's nice to get the knockouts. But what's really nice is to get rounds in, rounds of experience. Because the longer that you're in there, the more things you can learn. And it becomes a litmus test when guys are able to take men who score knockouts easy and early, you know, when they're able to go rounds and learn something. Like, remember when Shakur Stevenson fought that guy a couple of fights back? The guy was stepping on his foot. He was doing dirty tactics. He was trying to roughhouse Shakur and stuff like that. And for a couple of moments, Shakur was like, man, what's up with this dude? You know, he was irritated by it. But then he just forgot about it and just fought and whooped the guy's butt and got a unanimous decision. But it's fights like that. You need that because it's making you uncomfortable in there, and you have to find a way to work through that process. And that's what happens when you go rounds with guys. You even get a chance to gauge where your conditioning is, because if you're putting out a certain amount of fight punches and things like that, you want to know how to save yourself for rounds if you got 5 rounds to go, 4 rounds to go, 3 rounds to go, then you can you can assess your energy levels, and that's why going rounds is very important. So, but yeah, that's what. And somebody just wrote in the chat there. Thrill Hill says Abril missed weight. Number 3 pounds. He's saying. Is that 3 pounds that he meant? Yeah, 3 pounds. So yeah. So hey, that's all right. Boots gonna get him anyway. You know. Bruce Gold said McNeely fought again. I can't remember who and got KO'd. Yeah, it was nothing special. That's why I was saying, he never fought again, but I don't know his actual real record, but I know that he never fought anything prominent again. It was like he was brought in to launch Mike's career back to the spotlight, and that was pretty much it. But people don't realize Don King built Peter McNeely up. He fed him the opponents and everything and kept his ass undefeated and kept him working until Mike got out. That was all prearranged. All prearranged. Even though you didn't see Don King promotions on Peter McNeely fights before he got in there with Tyson, where the hell you think they pulled Peter McNeely from? They wasn't going to bring somebody out of there who would surprise the world on Mike Tyson's first fight back. If they wanted to go that route, they just would have picked a named fighter and let Mike come back and fight. Ray Mercer or somebody. Anyway. Skinny Kenny says, FA's finances and ownership were all the way jacked up. FA just went for the bonus money. Probably did. And McNeely even fought Butterbean, Bruce Gold says. Okay. You guys are working that box rec, huh? All right. Whatever, man. Says 100. So, what else you got on that, Reggie? You about Boots Enos, man, and his return to the ring for Saturday night.
Man, I'm glad he's returning to the ring and he gets to get some work in and see what he can do, because I think this fight is kind of to gauge him where he's at amongst the other kind of guys looking to get in that hunt to get a title run, because this guy's been in there with Jamal James, which he's lost to all these guys though. Jamal James, he lost to Igis Klimas and Alexander Busputin and a few other guys. So he's been in there with these guys, taking them a full, to the full extent of a fight. So it shows he has toughness, he has heart. He wasn't stopped by any of these guys. So we're going to see what Boots Ennis can do against this guy. Can he go in here and stop this guy, or is he just going to go out here, outclass him, outshine him? He's the same size as Ennis as far as height, about height and reach as well. And he's also coming in this fight, missing the weight, so he may come in a little bit bigger than Jerron. But we'll see the way he handles this guy, see what goes down with this fight. But I think it's just a way to gauge him amongst the Jamal James and all them other cats and see where they put him. And especially there's talks of, what's his name, Mean Machine, in a possible matchup with Jerron Ennis. So this is the perfect way to gauge this, because I believe that's this guy's last loss was to, wait, let me check. No, he lost to Igis about 2 years ago. So, but it's still a good way to gauge him. See where Boots is and see if they throw him in that ring against Mean Machine.
Yeah. Thrill Hill says the consensus is that Boots isn't ready for the top guys at welter with 26 fights. I recall Mugabe had 23 fights when he fought Marvelous Marvin. In a very good fight. Do you think Boots is better than Formella? They're different. They're definitely different. But this is the thing. You don't know how good a guy is until he starts going rounds. When the knockout punch is not the only answer. This is why I talk about guys not winning titles before they know how to fight. You can knock so many guys out, But that doesn't mean that you can fight. It just meant that you stopped guys who couldn't take your punches. But what about the guy who could take your punch? Not only the guy that could take your punch, but your punch don't have no effect on him. Not only that your punch don't have an effect on him, but the guy can fight back. Now, the guy got damn good stamina. He got a damn good chin. He could take your shots. Now, you got a fight on your hands. You got to think your way through this process of getting beyond this person. How do you outsmart them, outslick them, outbox them for the rest of the rounds and secure and bring home a victory through a decision? Remember, fatigue makes cowards out of men. So if you were so accustomed to just knocking everybody out, now you got to go to distance. Mentally, that can be crippling for you. You might decide like, man, I don't know if I can do it. You understand? You might have doubts. That doesn't mean you want to quit, but that means now you're focused on, am I in shape? As opposed to, I got to get this next round. And that is all the opponent needs, for you to have that momentary mental lapse and he can get a hold of you. Dillian White thought I was getting the best of Povetkin. I had him down twice. You know, I'm thinking about my touchdown dance at the end of the fight, you know, and he got caught with something. And he was left asking his people what happened. Huh? Somebody turned the party lights out, stopped the music. Huh? Last he remembered, he was on the dance floor. Huh? This is how it goes in the sport of boxing. So when you see these things, it's like it teaches you what the guy has. Old time trainers, managers, they like to see what their fighter had. And if he has something, they'll keep putting him in. They don't have to keep putting him in with killer after killer after killer, but they know that their guy is a killer now. Is Jaron Ennis a killer? We don't know. Everybody they put him in with, his talent, he's looked head and shoulders above him, right? But that doesn't mean that he's a killer. He's got to go in there with somebody that don't want to fall into a lion's trap. And he's got to work for it, a victory. That will tell you things. It's just like Ryan Garcia out there knocking folks out and everything and looking good doing it and talking crap and everything. But what about those guys who going to hit Ryan back in the mouth? Huh? We've seen Fernando Vargas before, right? It's just something to think about. You know, just putting it out there. So, I mean, what do you have on that, Reggie?
No, I agree with you 100% on that. I absolutely agree with you on that one. And once again, I don't want to see no knockouts, man. And that's the one thing I don't look for when I watch boxing. I look for two guys to get in there with heart and courage. They go in there well trained, and they try to impose their will on the other guy. If the knockout comes, that's just the icing on the cake. But I don't want to see that. I want to see Jaron going here and being effective, and just being effective in separating himself from this opponent. And if he can stop this guy, that's just an additional plus. But also following this fight, if he does win, I want Jaron to start calling people out, because you don't hear nothing about him. For him to be this talented, he's also voiceless as hell. So he needs to take this moment of being on that platform he's going to be on and start calling out some names, but not clout chasing, but calling out names.
Yeah, man. It's just, it's something to think about, because, you know, it's like the Jamel Herring fight, right? Jonathan Okendo was coming at him after being knocked down by a very good uppercut that hurt him, you know, but he turned up the pressure, and Herring didn't meet that challenge, you know, and so it was a letdown that the fight ended the way it did, because that's the point where a title gets contested, right? Okendo was coming in. He's working. Yeah, using his head. He's using his head, his elbows, everything, because it's a fight. And then you, a world champion, you're supposed to be able to turn back those type of challenges, or at least be prepared to defend against them. not look for a way out, right? So as a boxing fan, you're watching this, you want to see it go to its conclusion. Either Herring is going to bite down, fight back, defend his title, and turn back this guy's challenge through whatever means it requires to get the victory, or the guy is going to take the title from the champ, right? That's the scenario that we're looking for here, not for a way out. Oh, we're going to disqualify him from the headbutt from earlier, 3 or 4 rounds ago. What? Man, they've been fighting for the past 3 or 4 rounds, and the other guy's coming on strong now. Which is why I said if they would have just gone to the scorecards instead of saying, well, because it was a DQ. No, somebody said, well, the scorecards had Herring winning anyway. Oh, really? Well, why did it take so long for him to read them? That's a whole nother conversation, right, Reggie? And we've been on them damn judges. So it's like, what are you going to say, huh? Taking all that time, 15 minutes to decide that, oh, yeah, it's a DQ. But if we would have went to the cards, here are the cards, you could have seen he was out front. Bullshit. I mean, you there?
Yeah, that my bars had dropped. I couldn't. It wouldn't let it go through.
Oh, but yeah, I mean, what? I mean, right? When you were watching that and calling that, isn't that how you felt? You would rather see it go to its conclusion than for them to end it like it did.
Oh yeah, no doubt. Because the thing that was bugged out with the DQ was like there was no disqualification type of thing that occurred at that moment, way past the fact of when he decided to call a intentional headbutt. It's like 2 or 3 rounds after the fact. So because this guy said he can't continue, that's labeled a DQ. Like, I don't think these dudes know the rules, and I don't think a lot of people in this sport knows the rules, because when I see fights that end up being called majority draws, to where they can have 2 draws on the card, but one fighter ends up getting one judge to go for him, how the hell does that turn into a majority draw? Like, I've seen that happen. I think the Badu Jack or some other fighter. So I just don't. I think there's like, this game is just freestyling its way through, that no one understands anything. It has no rhyme or reason to any of the shit they do in this game. But yeah, and that Herring fight, it was ridiculous. And also being how long they even came to decide, like, if they were going to disqualify him, but even those scorecards not being ready, because those judges were over there doing something, and they decided to go along with that, go along with just disqualifying because these judges have made a huge mistake.
Yeah, I agree with you, man. You know, being able to tinker around with the damn scorecards, you know, because it didn't look like they were really, you know, that fight could have been a lot closer, man. It looked like they had time to make some adjustments just to make it look good to save face, you know, and that's a shame if that really happened, and it probably did. Well, let's come to the.
I think it did.
Yeah, so do I, man. You know, we talked about it, and let me ask you, we'll come to this final part for the main event for tomorrow night. Is Erickson Lubin taking on Terrell Gaucher in the main event on Showtime. Are you calling this one, Reggie?
Oh, heck yeah.
Okay, good. So everybody that's in the chat here can go over the boxing conversations with Reggie Owens. He's going to call this fight tomorrow night, and we'll get a chance to listen to his call, and we'll do a post-fight show on the fight card at the end of his call for the fight. But tomorrow night in the main event, Premier Boxing Champions are presenting Erickson Lubin, the Hammer, in a World Super welterweight title eliminator against Terrell Gaucher. And this fight right here is supposed to serve 2 purposes. One, it's another fight with Lubin on the comeback trail, rebuilding himself after his devastating first round loss to Jermell Charlo. And he has been victorious. He has had a couple of knockouts. He's had a couple fights go to distance. So now we arrive at Goucher. Reggie, what can you tell us in the listening audience about Goucher? What are your thoughts about him?
I don't really remember too much about him. I know I've seen him fight before, but there's nothing that where he stands out in my mind. And I see that he's not active. He's not that active. I think his last fight, they showed his last fight against Trout, which wasn't on it wasn't on regular TV. I think Trout fight on Bounce or some other new network. So I didn't get to see that, but I did see them fight when he fought against Laura. So, but other than that, he really doesn't stand out in my mind. But I think what's his name is on a warpath, Erickson Lubin, and I don't think he's going to let Terrell Goucher stand in his way. And I think Goucher's inactivity will end up costing him in this fight. And ain't no telling. And with his inactivity, kind of shows whether or not he's inspired by the sport still. And in this pandemic situation, I want to see what he's going to look like in a fight. He made good weight going into today's weigh-in, but I think Erickson Lubin's fighting for something a little bit more. When you fighting for a purpose and you have other goals set in place, he's looking to run through anything that stands as an obstacle for him trying to pursue that goal, and that's that goal of avenging that loss. So it shows he has a lot of heart. He's trying to avenge that loss against Charlo, who happens to be holding the belt. So I think that's what his ultimate goal, and Goucher will not stand in his way. Erickson was coming back strong after losing to Charlo. And I don't think that Charlo defeat, he didn't hang his head down low. He continuously marched forward, and he did his thing, man. He did what he's supposed to against these guys that they put in front of him. And I think Goucher is just another guy. He's going to, in my opinion, go in here. He's going to go in defeat, and we're going to hear him call out Charlo. We're going to hear Erickson Lubin be very vocal about getting that Charlo rematch. And that's the thing that I respect highly about Erickson Lubin.
Yeah, I think that Lubin should definitely be favored in this. And seeing that he basically had a draw against Austin Trout, Goucher basically is Austin Trout. And we know that Austin Trout is an aging fighter, as Goucher is a guy who can give you rounds. He's sturdy. He's a guy, he can take some punishment. He can hang in there with you. So, this thing is what's really a showcase for Lubin, but also to define, like, whoever wins this fight should be that next guy to challenge for that belt or those belts that are on the line in the upcoming showdown between Rosario and Charlo. So to me, I think that definitely Lubin should be favored. I've often said that he reminds me a lot of a young Obakar, man. They fight similar. They hold their posture the same. It's like I could see Obakar when I see him, and that's not a bad thing, because I thought that Obakar was a terrific fighter out of the Kronk gym. Emmanuel just put him in too tough too often. It's like when guys have tough fights, they need soft touches to kind of bring them back and get them back in that winning lane and, things like that. But to fight, killer after killer after killer, soon it's going to be kill or be killed, and that's the thing about doing that to guys. But yeah, I think that I'll take Lubin in this fight. I think he's a man on a mission. He still wants to prove that he wants to be a world champion, and he's nipping at the heels of those guys who have the championship titles. I look forward to it. And again, being active is important, and Lubin has been active. He's been in there. He's been getting it done. I just want to see him have another opportunity, regardless of who he has it against. And if it can build toward a rematch with Charlo, let it do so and do so organically. I don't think it should just be, oh, you know, for Charlo's belt or whatever, but I think with some seasoning and coming up on the other side of things to come back and say, hey, you know, I was, you know, a babe in the woods when we met the first time, but you know, this time I'm got something better to bring or whatever. I would like to see it done in that manner. But I do know that Charlo for now has said that there's nothing in Lubin for him. He's already handled that smoke, so to speak. But hey, everybody deserves a second chance in life, right? So let that be said. So yeah, Reggie, any final thoughts on this card for tomorrow night or anything else you'd like to say before we get ready to get out?
No, I can't wait to see it, man. We back to boxing, and then this week is down. Then we go into this pay-per-view event, and I can't wait to see what the Twins gonna do because they in some very tough fights, and so this puts us closer to that. And I want to see what these fighters tomorrow do. I want to see what Boots Ennis does. I want to see what FA does on the ESPN card. I want to see what you know, Lubin and Goucher bring as well. But yeah, that's all I got. But I can't wait for next Saturday.
Yeah, absolutely. And for those of you who need to be reminded because you were somewhere sleeping under a rock or something, it's like next week, Saturday on Showtime pay-per-view, we got the unified championship between Jermell Charlo and Jason Rosario. These two men are going to get it on. Rosario has 2 titles and Charlo has 1, and they're going to unify these belts and be heading toward undisputed, man, in the sport. And it's exciting because these men should be fighting each other. They're young enough and fresh enough that they should be doing this. And finally, we are getting these kind of bouts that we've been clamoring for. And hopefully, whoever become the winner out of these fights, that we'll see them go forward and start defending, you know, in the same manner. So, you know, let that be said. And then also earlier that night on the same card is Jermall Charlo, the bigger brother, twin, taking on Sergey Deverenchenko. And it's for Jamaal's WBC middleweight title. So it's like this is a fight that we'll see Deverenchenko coming off of a really good fight with Triple G, where most people think that he kind of handed Triple G his dinner. Jamaal's been saying that he wants somebody to fight him, so he's got one in front of him next weekend in Deverenchenko, man. So it's like these are the type of fights that we need in boxing. We've been clamoring for, and I'm excited about it because we get a chance to, you know, cover these fights and talk about them and everything, and come together with the community out here. And you know, we enjoy doing this, and this is why. So, but yeah, that's it, man. We had a wonderful chop session again. Stormy got a chance to talk quite a bit tonight. Reggie came in a little bit after, and we look forward to the fight card tomorrow night. Once again, don't forget to go check out Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens' channel for the call of the fight, and we'll be in there and be ready to see some great matches, man. So this is Stormy B, man. That's all I got for you guys. I want you guys to have a wonderful evening, weekend. Enjoy the fights, you know, and enjoy the fight call by Reggie, you know, because that's what he does. You know, Stormy don't call the fights, but I can break them down, and we can talk about them in the post-fight show, which is what we'll do. There'll be a post-fight show coming up right behind Reggie's call. So from Stormy B, man, and my brother Boxing Conversations with Reggie Owens, that's it for tonight. Thank you for joining us for the chop session. We guys will see you tomorrow night after the fights. Peace. Reggie Okay.